Are people that play sports video games even considered gamers? Now, before you answer this question, actually think about what a gamer is. Because the word gamer sounds simple, but the more you think about it, the more complicated it gets. Most people hear the word gamer and think of like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Valorant, or some RPG game. They think of someone who spends hours learning, mastering, and understanding the strategies of the video game. But then there's the whole other group of people, right? The people that play Madden, 2K, MLB The Show, FIFA. And this creates a weird debate, right? Because, technically they are playing video games, but some people argue they aren't real gamers. So like, where do we start? Where does this line start? The first thing we have to look at is what is a video game and how it is defined. A video game is basically an interactive electronic game where a player controls what happens through inputs like a controller, keyboard, or touchscreen. And so by that definition, sports games clearly count. Madden is a video game. 2K is a video game. FIFA is a video game. You are controlling a digital environment, making decisions and trying to achieve a goal. That sounds pretty similar to every other type of game, whether that be PC, Switch, etc. But the reason, people get angry and debate it is because sports games are in a different genre than most video games. A lot of gamers would say a video game is where you enter another world as a hobby or as a game. You're exploring, you're fighting enemies, you're solving puzzles, you're building things, right? Sports games are based on something that already exists. You're not creating a new world. You're not recreating basketball, you're not recreating football, baseball. Some people call it or see it as a simulation rather than like gaming. But then again, isn't simulation still gaming? Because some of the biggest games ever made are simulations. There are games where people spend hours driving fake cars, flying fake planes, building fake cities, and managing fake businesses. Take GTA, for example. So why do sports get treated differently? Another argument people bring up is the difficulty of the game. Some say sports games are easier because you're just controlling athletes who already know how to play the sport. But that's not quite true. Competitive sports games have entire communities built around mastering them and completing them. The players learn advanced mechanics, strategies, formations, and timing for that game. A competitive Madden player isn't just randomly pressing buttons. They understand the playbooks. They understand the defensive schemes and decision making for that game. A competitive 2K player isn't just running around, right? They're learning the spacing, movement, timing, and team strategy it takes to play one of those games. It's actually pretty similar to how people approach other competitive games. The difference is the game itself, is the setting of the game. A player in a shooting game learns the maps and aims and tools. A sports player earns their own set of mechanics. Different game, different skill, still a video game. Another interesting thing is esports, right? Esports is a massive industry and is still growing. Sports video games have been included in that. Games like FIFA, NBA 2K, all have competitive scenes. The fact that people can train, compete, and make careers from these games shows that there is a level of skill involved in these games. But here where it gets complicated, because not everyone who plays video games is necessarily a gamer in the way people imagine. Someone could play Candy Crush once a month. Someone could play Mario Kart with friends every once in a while at a party or a hangover. Someone could only play Madden during the football season, just like someone could play MLB The Show during the MLB season. Are they a gamer and part of a gaming culture? Or does being a gamer require a certain level of interest, time, and dedication? Because maybe the debate isn't even about the game itself, it's about the person playing it. A person who plays Madden every day, watches gaming content, follows updates, and competes online probably has a very different relationship with gaming than someone who plays once a year. The same thing happens with sports in real life. Someone who plays basketball once with friends and someone who trains every day are both technically basketball players. People might view them differently. So maybe gaming works in the same way. The word gamer has changed a lot over time. You know, originally gaming was seen as a very specific hobby that only a select few can do. And now video games are one of the biggest forms of entertainment across the world. You know, people of all ages play, and I mean all ages. Different genres have completely different communities. You know, there are people who only play story games, people who only play sports games, people who only play shooter games. And then there's people who play everything, which, good for them, I guess. I guess they're safe in the gamer. And the gaming world is much bigger than it used to be. So maybe the question isn't whether sports video games are games, because obviously they are. The bigger question is whether playing a certain type of game automatically makes someone part of the identity that comes with it. Because someone can play a video game without really caring about gaming culture. And someone can be deeply involved in gaming while playing a genre that other people don't respect. So after looking at the definition, all the skills, all the competitions, and the culture behind every game, are the people that play sports video games considered gamers?